Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission to order. And I'm going to try one more time to get my agenda to open. I'm having a little trouble with preview here. Okay, so the first thing we have called to order, the roll call seating of board alternates. We have, I see on the call, Jed Larson and William Monroe. So we have a quorum for the meeting, and we can proceed then to see if there are any changes or revisions to the agenda. Are there any that anybody's aware of? Okay, seeing none, I will proceed to approval of the minutes. Our last regular meeting was July 13th, 2021. And I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes of that meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from July 13th.
I second that.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Larson, seconded by Commissioner Monroe to approve the minutes. Are there any comments, revisions, corrections to enter into the record?
I had none.
Nor I. Okay, then I'll ask for a vote. Commissioner Larson.
Aye.
Commissioner Monroe.
Aye.
And I, Chairman Elliott, also vote aye. So the motion carries 3-0-0. Next item on the agenda. I can get that to stay on my screen. Okay, do we have any wish for public comment? I see only 2 members of the public at the meeting, and they have an item on the agenda coming up. So move on to new business. Oh, and I failed to mention to those not on the commission that due to an obligation to be at Bradley Airport, I'm going to have to leave this meeting at 8:15, so we're going to have to move right along. Okay, so new business. So we have a jurisdictional ruling review, IWWC 21-15, parentheses JR, from the town of Andover regarding repairs to the culverts on the Hop River at Bunker Hill Road. I will make a motion that the commission has jurisdiction in the regard to this activity. And I would like a second to that motion.
Larson will second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. The reason I did that was because we're going to have to vote on it, and we might as well get the motion on the floor right away. I see Eric Anderson, town administrator, on the call, who will speak to the issue on behalf of the town.
Sure. So the town submitted a wetlands application for a repair of the triple culvert at Bunker Hill. And George, can I share the screen?
Sure. If Abby will handle that, I can't. I'm not Abby, administering the meeting.
Can you give me enable screen sharing for me?
All right, you should be able to now.
Okay, yep, got it. All right. Okay, so what you're looking at is a diagram of the issues that the town is having with the Bunker Hill triple culvert. So it is a triple culvert. It has been steadily deteriorating for the last 15 years. This is something that should have been replaced a long time ago, but it has not been because the town has not wanted to fund it. We are basically going for a temporary repair to get us through until such point as a full bridge replacement can be done, which should be starting sometime within the next 18 months. As you are all probably aware, so far this summer, we've had 3 fairly significant flood events. One of them was a 10-year frequency storm event. One was a 2-year frequency storm event. And the last one was a 200-year frequency storm event. In all 3 of those cases, the water, twice the water topped the culvert itself and ran over the culvert. As many of you know, to the north along the road, there's a low point in the road that the water goes over the road first. And then when the water gets about 2 feet deeper than that, the water actually goes over the culvert. And so the big problem we have is culvert number 3, which is the northernmost culvert, has a bunch of fairly large holes in the bottom of the culvert. It's basically completely rusted out on the bottom, and it is settling. And the problem is as the water gets higher and the velocity of the water increases, the Venturi effect sucks the sand gravel mix out of the hole in the bottom of the culvert and undermines the sides of the culvert, and you get sinkholes. If you look at the picture, I showed you basically where the 2 sinkholes appeared. So what the town has done for an emergency fix is they have dug, staying within the concrete head walls, upstream and downstream. They've dug out the fill material and then first put down about 6-inch riprap, so basically heavy ballast stone, filter fabric, and then filled it back up with a very low strength concrete mixture called flowable fill. So there's nothing there to disintegrate and wash out. I realize we're doing this a little backwards, although we submitted the wetlands application before we started. There was almost a month delay before the Wetlands Commission met. And so part of this work has been completed. Public Works would still like to do the downstream side now, which the Board of Selectmen has requested before we reopen Bunker Hill. So we monitored very carefully to make sure that while construction was going, we weren't getting a lot of sediment in the river, and we were not. At the time we did it, the water flow was very low and the stream continued to run clear. We're not anticipating, doing any actual work in the river without the consent of the Wetlands Commission. The other area that's of concern is, if you see on that picture I'm showing, it says area of localized scour. There's actually a scour hole on the head wall that extends below the concrete head wall, which means the head wall along the front and part of there is pretty well undermined and kind of structurally not in the best of shape. We would consider using heavy ballast rock in there to fill that scour hole to prevent further undermining of the head wall in case we got another, high flow. But that appears to be, that would require permission of the Wetlands Commission. So in a nutshell, that's what we're talking about doing. Does anybody on the commission have any questions about that?
Okay, I don't have any questions about the work per se, and I certainly don't want to delay these absolutely necessary repairs. I'm a little confused about the item on the agenda, which is a jurisdictional ruling. We don't, and I have not yet seen an actual application for a wetlands permit on this. Joe, could you comment on that? I'm asking our agent, Joseph Wagner.
There should be a permit posted online. But if we're doing a jurisdictional review, then he technically doesn't need to submit a permit yet until you determine that one would be necessary.
From my perspective, the jurisdiction is clear. We already have precedent for approval of a permit for culvert activity on Hutchinson Road. And I think this would fall under the same kind of rubric. And again, as I say, we certainly want to see that work completed as expeditiously as possible, so that we don't get any more yokels throwing barricades in the river. Obvious impatience about getting across that point on the Hop River. So I think that we have jurisdiction here. And if we actually have a permit, which again, I didn't see at the time, when I looked under applications submitted or pending on the website, we don't have an application on file there. So we're really getting our socks on over our shoes. If we were to try to,
it's actually listed under jurisdictional reviews on the website, which is under,
okay,
it's on that sidebar menu.
Oh, okay. So it was just a matter of where it was put.
And George, I brought up a copy on your screen of the wetlands.
Yeah, I've got it here now too.
Permit.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry for the confusion, because the agenda didn't state that we actually had an application in hand, and I hadn't noticed it in the when I was looking for new applications on the web. Okay, since the motion on the floor is to determine whether or not we have jurisdiction, let's knock that off. And then again, since this is our first meeting of actually receiving the application, under statute, we can't rule on it for 15 days, which means we'll have to have a special meeting to approve or to act on the permit application. So that said, let me quickly poll the members so that we can get the jurisdictional review part out of the way. And then we can move on to the to schedule a special meeting for the application. So Commissioner Larson, your vote on the motion to exercise jurisdiction.
Aye.
And Commissioner Monroe?
Aye.
Okay, and I, Chairman Elliott, also vote aye. So the commission votes that we do have jurisdiction. Now, given the work is already underway and we expect it to proceed with further issues that have arisen since I believe the application was submitted. And as I said, under statutory requirements, we have to wait before we can actually vote on the motion. So let's take this opportunity to look at opportunities for a special meeting. Our next
question, George?
Yeah.
Then, because we are running over a week late in our normal cycle here, I would like to ask Eric, if we have a meeting in a little over 2 weeks, is that that much of a help as opposed to a little less than 3 weeks?
I was going to say that the earliest opportunity would be the 29th of this month, and our regular meeting would be October 4th. So maybe we don't, now that I'm looking at the calendar and with regard to Commissioner Larson's point, it wouldn't make much difference in terms of time. So yeah, Eric, are you okay with that?
I'm okay with scheduling it for your next regular meeting with the caveat that we are going to be doing further work on the bridge, probably starting next week, because we have to get the thing back open.
I figured as much. And I don't object personally, and I would ask if any of the commissioners have any concerns regarding, again, having the town crew working on the bridge and potentially with the head wall actually depositing material in the river bed, right?
I mean, that we don't have to do. I mean, I would like to do that. And we would actually consider going into the pipe by hand and filling the void under the pipe with stone by hand. You know, but that, you know, that was definitely going to require wetlands approval before we did it. Right. The rest of the work, because we're not actually disturbing the water course as we do this, because the water course is still running freely through the pipe. All we're doing is resecuring the pipe relative to the water course.
Right. Okay, as long as the, I haven't obviously looked in detail at the application since I wasn't aware it was there. As long as those issues are addressed in the application, then, you know, our consideration will include them. And if they are fait accompli, then, well, so be it. Again, I don't see any issues here, given that we're talking about really an emergency repair for a artery and for a situation that's inconvenienced a lot of townsfolk. Okay, any other comments or questions from the commission?
Chairman Elliott, I was wondering if, since the repair he wants to do in the interim is not affecting the water flowing through the culvert, and it is kind of an emergency repair to get the bridge back open, can we have that take precedence over the 2-week wait? I mean, I don't know what we lose by approving it when the work is going to continue, and we've got, you know, Eric's comment that he's not going to disturb the water course in the, you know, he'll come back to the Wetlands Commission before he disturbs the water course.
Yeah, but the permit application includes the potential for work in the water course per se. If it's, you know, again, affecting the stream bed at the head wall or working in the culvert itself, then that's clearly within the water course. Not only, of course, is the bridge itself is well within the 100-foot upland review area or the 200-foot upland review area.
Correct.
So again, I feel really uncomfortable with trying to shortcut the timing, which is statutory, and at the same time, we are in a quandary because we don't want to delay the work. Agent Wagner, do you have any comment on that situation?
Yeah, I was thinking initially that I could fall under section 4.2A of the Andover's regulations, where it could be permitted as a non-regulated use. This 4.2A states that conservation of soil, vegetation, water, fish, shellfish, and wildlife. Such operation or use may include, but is not limited to, minor work to control erosion. So I just thought it could fall under that.
Okay,
it's
yeah,
not,
controlling erosion.
yeah,
yeah, I could buy that.
because it's not in, which is why I put it under jurisdictional review. Because if you did that, we could just say it's a permitted use, because it's technically not, like, all the work that they're doing is inside those two head walls. They're not really doing anything work in the riverbed other than maybe a repair to the rusted out culvert,
right,
which is pretty minor, really. The major work is removing all that fill, which is actually like isolated from the stream itself by those two concrete head walls.
Yeah, a vexing problem there. So in essence, then what you would suggest would require us to rescind the jurisdictional ruling and state that the activity is permitted as of right.
I mean, either way, the result would be the same. I mean, if you just approve the permit after the fact. I talked with, did I send you, I spoke with.
Yeah, I saw the
and,
comment from Attorney Brantz.
Yeah, he pretty much said that that was a kind of a standard practice to do after the fact permits for emergency repairs. So, I mean, either way, if you believe that you have jurisdiction, I mean, it's kind of fuzzy. You could make a case either way. So
yeah, frankly, I'd rather exercise jurisdiction.
Yeah, and then just approve the permit at the next meeting if that's what the commission wants to do, and then the end result's going to be the same anyway.
Yeah. Again, the key here is we want to get the work done.
Yeah,
we don't want to stand in the way of the work.
Well, it still could be considered an emergency repair.
Yeah.
So, I don't think we need to really hold it up. Is what I'm trying to say, because it kind of fall under an emergency repair. I don't think anybody's gonna argue with that.
I think when we post the legal notice, we won't get any comment. Okay. So we'll leave it as is. We will take up the permit application at our next regular meeting, and I believe that we have adequate information in the permit application to rule on it. I'll ask, will either the commissioners on the call want to see further information at the next meeting? Any details of either the activities or the mitigation?
Not here. I'm good with what you're doing.
I mean, the one thing I would say is that by removing the sandy soil that's getting sucked out and replacing it with ballast rock, we're actually decreasing the sedimentation that's going into the river.
Exactly.
Now every time it gets high. So we're actually doing, the repair leads to a net siltation of the river, a net less siltation of the river, not increases it.
Or we could put it positively as a net improvement in water quality downstream. Okay. I believe that's adequate consideration of that application, and we will again return to that at our next regular meeting. Thanks, Eric, for your diligence on this issue.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda, 6B, we have a new permit application, IWWC 2119 from Brendan Wayne Fazzino for property at 268 Lake Road, rebuilding the existing lake wall using existing and new stone on the shoreline of Andover Lake. Again, that application was online, and let's see now. If Abby, you could pull that up on screen.
Yep, bear with me a second.
Sure.
I don't have it handy at the moment. If you have it handy, I can give you screen share, or just wait for me to pull it
Well,
up.
actually, I'm not working on this screen. I
Okay.
have a setup where my main computer has got the materials at hand, and the computer that I'm using for the Zoom call is air gapped.
Okay.
So, okay, commissioners, do you have this application at hand?
I did not run a copy off. I did look at it online before the meeting.
Okay. Can you pull it up online for the purpose of the meeting? We're not going to be, of course, again, with the statutory delay in between the receipt of the application and its action. Oh, bravo. Here it is.
There we go.
So the application, again, as you say, was accompanied by several photographs of the existing condition and a site plan.
Sorry about that. Did you want the pictures or do you want to look at the site plan first?
We could take a quick look at the pictures.
Okay.
And at this point, I'd like the applicants, if they have any comments on the situation.
Well, that's our existing wall. I think it was built in 1994, and you can see it's getting a little tumbled down there. So we're gonna have somebody take all the rocks out of the water, up on the lawn, and then rebuild the whole wall. Hopefully this fall.
Okay. As the poet Frost put it, something there is that does not like a wall. And
indeed.
This is a usual, not unusual situation.
Yeah, so it's almost 30 years old.
There are a couple of questions I have for you regarding the site plan and, well, what I saw. Have you got a contractor lined up for this work?
Yes.
Because usually we, in situations like this, we've typically had a plan from the contractor regarding the mitigation, and that is to say what the contractor will be doing to avoid sedimentation, to avoid impact on the lake and the lake bottom. Okay.
So, well, I asked him about that, and so on the site plan, I put where he's going to have his silt fences and the hay bales. Those are indicated there. He was going to put a silt fence on the lake bed itself, and then up on the lawn, he was going to put a silt fence and line the whole thing with hay bales. So there'd be a silt fence on both sides of the wall while he's working on it.
Okay. The second item okay, so that's been addressed. The second item, do you have an approval from the Andover Lake Management Association, ALMA?
No, I've been talking to Jeff Hayes on that, and he was going to email that for this meeting, but there was personal problems and he couldn't get everybody together to get the online approval. So no, I do not have the Alma approval yet.
But it's in progress, and presumably
Yes.
by our next regular meeting, you will have that approval in hand.
Yep, he seemed pretty
Okay.
confident about that.
Okay, very good. So that addresses the two major concerns I had about the plan. And I'll ask the members of the commission if they have any additional concerns. Jed, first off.
Well, the concern I have is about the pipe from the basement that's running into the lake.
Yep.
And you wouldn't think in this day and age that's what we were looking to do. I don't know what the pipe runs into the lake, but you wouldn't think that would be a best practice for protecting the lake.
Yeah, it's been there forever. So
I understand that if we're gonna do work on it, maybe it's time to make it so that it doesn't drain whatever it drains into the lake.
Okay, well, it's the house is on dirt. It has a half cellar, and when it rains, sometimes you get water in the cellar, and so there's a hole in the floor, and the water runs down through the hole, out the pipe, and into the lake. That's what that pipe is.
So it's just a gravity drain from the basement floor?
Yes, yeah, for rainwater that gets in there. That's what it is.
Okay.
What do you do instead of that?
Rebuild the house.
Okay. That's a good point, Commissioner Larson. I think that that's something we might want to consider in mitigating the impact, and there might be an efficient way to avert that discharge from going directly to the lake.
What we have seen on occasion is that the contractor that's building the wall, he puts a bunch of stone behind the wall with a non-permeable membrane or something, and it would almost be like a detention basin that you could run the pipe into that, and it would sink into the ground as opposed to running into the lake.
Oh. Well, you can see on the site plan that he is going to put 12 inches of crushed stone behind the wall and line that with fabric. So maybe if we just run the pipe into that, just that far, is that what you're saying?
Yes, and instead
of dumping right into the water, just dump
it would allow the material to hopefully sink into the ground as opposed to running into the lake. But if you're going to go through all that work to make that big trench, which is what we would normally have you do up closer to the house, that might be more costly. But if we were to run that pipe into high into the stone so it can sink down in there, not go into the lake, that might be a better deal.
Better, yeah, and better for the lake too, probably.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, why don't you ask your contractor about that?
Okay.
It would be,
Well, he is part of on the permit. Part of what he's going to do is relay that that drain pipe, because Daddy put that in decades ago, and it's worked up. It's kind of just sitting on top of the lawn now. So he's going to dig a trench to relay that pipe, straighten it out, so he could just go to the crushed stone. That would be good.
Certainly be better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the cellar drain pipe, and then there's also indicated on the storm pipe, which runs from Lake Road.
That comes from the road, yeah.
Yeah. And again, that was probably predates modern regulations.
That was Percy Cook.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
Percy Cook did that back in I think the 60s, that was.
Again, not being at all an authority on drainage systems. You could ask your contractor, and I think also work with our agent to see if anything can be done to, again, redirect that discharge from going directly into the lake.
That's a town thing. That's there's a town easement for that storm drain.
Mm-hmm. And you know, that's why I say the you know, our wetlands agent, being you know, how shall I say, in the town hall, might also be able to talk to other people about that, the easement and whatever else is involved there.
So you're talking about redirecting the storm pipe away from the lake and to...
If there's a potential to do that, it seems to me that it would be a good thing to do. Again, if it's not going to add tremendously to it would reduce the impact on the lake for sure.
Right. Yeah.
It's not something I would, you know, insist that you undertake on your own recognizance, especially if there's additional expense involved there. But I think it's an idea to explore at this point, since we're still, you know.
Well, I don't know that I can do anything about the storm pipe, because as I say, that's a town thing, and we actually have an easement where the pipe is for the town, and that we're not supposed to touch anything. That's supposed to be town.
Right, but the discharge goes through the wall that you're proposing to repair. So, you know, there's going to have to be some impact there. And as you say, I think that if you talk to our wetlands agent and maybe explore the idea at the town hall level, it might be possible to do something at this point. You know, the easement is obviously going to stay there, but where exactly the discharge lands, whether it goes direct to the lake or whether it has a chance to get filtered first, is the question we have here. You know, that might be addressed.
Yeah, it's all underground. It's a big
36-inch,
a 3-foot pipe buried underground.
Right, but at the discharge end, you know, it's right. It's coming through your proposed. It's coming through your existing wall.
Yes.
So, as I said, it seems to me there might be an opportunity there. While
put a different end on it or something.
While work is being done.
Well, I wouldn't mind getting rid of it.
Okay. Okay, so I'll direct our wetlands agent to look into the potential for remediation there. And we'll follow up on that from the Wetlands Commission end. Because again, I realize that since the easement is there, it's a town facility, if you will. It's not really in your
not in my purview. Nothing I can do about it. Yeah.
Do you get a lot of flow through that during a rainstorm?
Yeah. Quite a lot. It scours out under our dock a bit. We had to put some big things to block the flow. Otherwise, it would take our dock away every time we had a big storm.
Yeah, I'm not sure what options you would have.
Water that comes out of it.
With that amount of water, you would need some kind of retention basin or something, but that would, you know, that would probably take up half your yard. That wouldn't really be a good alternative. Anything that was too restrictive would back up the drainage.
Right. The storm drain is fed by several other storm drains on the street, and we're at the sort of at the bottom of a hill, and the hill pretty much drains into there. Once it rains, like with Ida, it was draining into the storm drain for days. It took quite a long time for all the water to come off the hill and go through the pipe.
It seems like an awful short stretch to have any kind of measures to infiltrate that amount of water. But I mean, I can ask, see if anyone has any suggestions. I just looking at it now, it seems like it'd be hard to come up with some kind of thing that wouldn't turn your yard into a drainage pond.
Which we also want to avoid.
Right. I mean, it's like you'd have to dig up the street and connect the storm drain over towards Skoog's Brook. You know, something
doesn't change anything.
Yeah, which doesn't really change anything anyway.
Running full enough. We don't need to raise the level over there, Eddie.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just all this water, and what do you do with it?
Yep. Now, I think it's a stretch too, but if Agent Wagner wants to, look into it a little bit, that's great.
Wonderful. Okay.
Yeah. See if anybody has any ideas. I'll get back to you.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns about the application? In other words, it's our chance to put an OR in before we have to really consider it formally. This is all pretty preliminary discussion, really. Okay. Okay, if we don't have any further questions or comments, I'd like to move on to the agenda. And as I say, we will return to this application at our next regular meeting, where we'll be able to formally consider the application for approval.
Good, thank you.
Okay, and again, understanding that you have addressed already the major concerns and the things we're talking about now, mitigation of stormwater runoff from the road and from the cellar are, again, simply items that we would like to consider. They may or may not be possible to do anything about them.
I did have one question.
Sure.
The builder wanted me to ask, is it okay if he brings equipment down? Like he has a small excavator that he would use to pick up the rocks and move them around. Is that allowable, or does he have to do it all by hand?
We have allowed equipment, and I think that the issues there would again be the same: avoidance of sedimentation and impact on the lake bottom, and being nice to your yard while he's at it. So perhaps using using 4x8 plywood, things like that, as a support for the equipment, or putting in mulch as a temporary track for the equipment treads. But there's certainly no bar on using equipment per se. It's just, again, a matter of avoiding
being careful about erosion. Okay.
Yep.
All right, good, thank you.
Agent Wagner, did you have any other comment on that question?
No, I mean, looking at that yard, when I went to take those pictures, it's not a steep yard. It's pretty gradual slope down there. It doesn't look like a real high erosion risk, especially since that storm drain channeled a lot of the water under the lawn. But yeah, I don't see a small excavator causing too much of an issue, and we can address that if it does cause problem.
Okay. Well, good. Thank you. I'll tell him that.
Okay. One last thing from my notes here. I wonder if any of the commission feels that a site walk would be particularly useful here. In my view, the photographs are adequate to represent the condition, and the site plan tells us what they're going to want to do. Jed, do you feel a site walk, or would you rather kayak in?
Yeah, I don't think I need a site walk.
Okay. Mr. Monroe?
I'll kayak in.
Okay.
We're over by the beach.
Check it out from the lakeside. All right. Okay, then I think that takes care of that item on the agenda. And I'd like to move on again. I'm carefully watching the time, and we've got some items that could take some serious time.
Okay, thank you. We're out now.
Okay, very good. You're excused. Hold on a second. Okay, item 7 on the agenda, any enforcement actions, Agent Wagner. I don't see any listed.
Yeah, it's nothing this month.
That's good. Good news. No enforcement is good enforcement. Okay, next item 8, revision of our regulations. Now we have 2 items subheaded here. The first is revision of the standard permit conditions. Now, Agent Wagner, you distributed, I believe, a draft for the standard conditions. I have a document.
Yeah, I think I sent it to you, and then you sent it to the commission last week, maybe. I remember seeing it.
Yeah, exactly. I sent that and some other regulation revisions. So let's see here. Can you bring that up again? I'm not able to do that on my computer. Screen share that, and then if you could describe the what changes there may be or what we've done. Like, I will comment to the commission that this has been through review by Attorney Brantz.
Let's see, so I can screen share. Let's see if I can remember how to do that.
Just made you a co-host, so you should see a green screen share at the bottom of your screen.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Try and find it first. Make sure I share the right one. All right. Everybody see that?
Yep.
If you could bump up the size of the document a little bit, maybe make it about 150%. There you go.
That worked. This is the one with the changes that Mark Brandt suggested. I'll show you this one so you can see what's different about it. He went and reviewed ours and then updated it to reflect his law and any suggestions that that he had. So condition number 4 will be changed. There's some reasons. I looked at it a while ago, but there's some stuff on the back. I can pass this along to the commission if they want to review it before the next meeting, because I feel like this will be a multi-month process.
Okay. Well, again, my understanding is this new clause is simply the result of action by the General Assembly in the last legislative session. The legislature, in its wisdom, decided to extend certain permits up to like 14 years, which is a lot of grandfathering in my opinion, but there we go. So it's not like we're really in a position to make revisions in any event.
So yeah, once again, he recommends using standard conditions. Then he recommends putting any conditions on the plan, which I added to the final version of that, which I think George sent to you guys. And I'm not sure if this falls under the whole regulation revision, because it's a standard condition is something that the commission just adds, but we could wait to implement it until after we get our regulations revised to make sure.
Right. So okay. So standard condition for bonding would follow from regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have to look at that again. Basically, we'd like to get these in our regulations updated as soon as possible. However, as soon as possible may be a while, given the nature of the process. If I could speak to that, we have essentially, I'm not sure if the proposed revisions of the regulations actually require review and hearing. I'm going to contact DEP about it. Let me find the specific at some point we came into possession of an amendment timeline. I'm not sure that what we're doing, the revisions, constitute amendments. We're not coming up with any new regulations. We're simply revising our regulations according to the model provided by DEP and in accordance with state statutes. Okay. But let's say DEP regards these as amendments. In that case, we would have to have review and a public hearing, and we would have to submit the proposed amendment at least 35 days before a hearing were to be held, and we would have to have a hearing within 65 days. So within that, we would have to then submit the final adopted amendment to DEP within 10 days. So there's a minimum of over a month between the time that we submit regulations for approval and the time that we can have a hearing. And then once the hearing is held, we could potentially approve the revisions. So as I say, the first step, and what I will do following this meeting, is to contact DEP with respect to whether or not they consider what we're doing to be technically amending the regulations or simply revising them in accordance with updates to the model that we're following and the state requirements, such as the grace period and the expiration of permits under certain conditions. So given that, it's unrealistic to think that we could have a hearing before our December meeting and possibly January. I don't think we would have to have a hearing, a standalone hearing. I think we could have a hearing that would precede our regular meeting, thus allowing us to act on the subject after the hearing. So we have the hearing, we adjourn the hearing, we go to the regular meeting, we have the revisions as an agenda item. So at this point, I guess all we can do is to see if we have any concerns about the proposed revisions, which would affect our standard conditions, as Agent Wagner just pointed out, and whether we have any further need to amend our regulations. So again, in alphabetical order and in screen order, Judd, do you have any questions or comments about the standard conditions or regulations and the revisions that we're proposing?
I have no comments or questions on the revisions you're proposing. I do have two questions to make sure that, well, I'm working on the process issue for planning and zoning, that I like the standard conditions thing. So I'm planning to plagiarize that at some point here. But I did have a comment on item 7 on the list, which is all activities for the prevention of soil erosion. And I'm probably begging you just a little, Joe, here. I talked to Jim about it the other day, and he may not have had a chance to talk to you before he took off. But I know at 436 Lake Road, the sediment fencing got washed away by the sediment on the first of the big storms we've had. And it does not appear to me that anybody has taken any action to fix that over there. And I know you were on site not too long ago, I guess, checking out trees that they wanted to cut down. But my concern is that the erosion, our requirement is it's checked weekly and after rains. And I don't think it's being checked at all. And I don't know if we have some process to, it says that the engineer will do that. And that we get these reports from that. Kind of like we weren't getting the reports on the gravel pit. And all of a sudden that got to be a big problem there at the end. But anyhow, I'll let you take a look at that. The piece of the fence that I can see from when I'm walking by it on the road, is severely washed away. And there may be others, I just can't see it from that.
Yeah, there's that section, what is it? It's like 15 feet from the road, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't been there in the past couple weeks. Probably should have after that last rain. But they have been pretty cooperative. I've been going back there with all this rain. I've visited the site like 3 or 4 times probably. And then in the back, they had a big mulch barrier in combination with the sediment fence. And we've moved some stuff around. We put hay bales, fixed the fence a few times. They put a little like retention pool back there to slow the water down. So they've been pretty good, pretty responsive with
so Judge, your question is not about the regulation per se, but making sure that it gets.
Yeah, I would have just expected that to have been fixed after the first big rain, and didn't see it. And I guess the last one on item 9 says these standard conditions, along with any special conditions contained in the approval motion, shall be reproduced in full on final plans, which final plan shall be endorsed by the commissioner or its agent prior to the commencement of any regulated activity. And I guess my question is, are you guys doing that now? And I'm finding over in planning and zoning, maybe there's some confusion, especially with the applicants, that when we give approval at the planning and zoning meeting, they think they're done. And they've got a bunch of other work that has to get done before it's really done. And I don't think we've been doing as good a job as explaining what they need to do and making sure that it gets done. And I think we've got some open permits that we might have to go work on getting to conclusion.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, it's encouraged, but it's not usually a condition of the permit approval now, which is why I thought it would be a good addition. And
okay, so that's an addition you're putting in there.
Yes, that's a new thing.
Yep, nope, because I know that on, like 12 Webster Lane, there was on the Mylars, I went in and signed it, and there was a place for the Wetlands Commissioner chair. And, but I don't know that we have signed the Mylars for Pine Ridge Road. And that's the one I got to go pull the string on. I don't think I've signed anything on that. And so is there, I think the applicants, they got approval at planning and zoning, approval from wetlands. They think they're good to go. And not true. And so if that's an ad you're putting in there, I think it's a great one. And now we just have to make sure that we track getting those things finished after we granted approval. Because the applicants all go away happy that they don't know they're not done yet.
And if they're not aware of it, then it's really not, it's not on them, I guess. So by putting it in there, I think it'll.
Okay, nope, I think that's a great addition then.
It'll become
that's the extent of my comments.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Larson. Commissioner Monroe.
I'll have to read this over. I mean, I've read through it, but I've mostly perused it, and I'm just getting it a little bit. Not even what Jed was just talking about. I didn't really understand what was going on there, but I got it. I got that.
Okay.
I have read it, but doesn't all stick in there the way I'd like it to.
It takes a while, Bill.
It does indeed.
As I say, you're just starting to figure out the planning and zoning piece. It's
complicated.
Takes a while for the light bulb to come on.
Yeah, the light bulb is very dim right now.
Indeed.
But
okay.
It is.
So, okay, so we're essentially good with the standard conditions, with the caveat that there might be a regulatory aspect to the bond condition, and that might have to be addressed in our regulations. As far as the regulations themselves, again, as you stated, the revisions are complete, to the best of my knowledge. We incorporated the new language provided by Haller and Sage, particularly Attorney Brantz and his colleagues, regarding the new statutory language. And as far as I'm aware, everything else in our regulations comes from the DEP model regulations and direct from state statute. So I asked some questions about language that I considered confusing about the requirement for hearings. And well, no, that's what the statute says. So really, we don't have any leeway to change that language. So if there are no further questions about the proposed changes, Again, I distributed those along with the draft of the regulations and the draft of the standard conditions.
Well, I will say, George, that
okay.
I did read through all the changes, and similar to what Commissioner Monroe just said about the checklist, you know, I understood changing DEP to DEEP, but when you got down to all this stuff about the easements and the protected areas and all that stuff, going back to that, my eyes kind of glazed over. And
you mean all the section 125, 126? Yeah, likewise.
I do a better job when we actually have an example to work through than trying to figure out what that said. And I couldn't get anything out of it. So I just go on record saying I got no comments on it other than the fact that.
Well, I would say that the odds of our ever being confronted with a situation where any of those conditions applies are pretty slim.
That was my takeaway.
And actually, it's my hope that we will never have to encounter any applications in which these regulations are relevant.
I guess if we do, we'll go talk to Attorney Brantz.
Exactly. That's what we have a retainer for. So, as I said, I'm going to inquire. I'll contact whoever is responsible at DEP and see if I can find out what we need to do next. If we do need to have a hearing, as I said, we will probably not be able to schedule it before our December meeting and probably January, so we can discuss that at our October meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, then. We will move on now to the next item on the agenda, which, if I can find it again. I have so many layers of document on my desktop that it takes a while to scroll through them. Okay, right. Time now for agent report. There are several administrative permits.
Yeah, I can just quickly going through some pretty straightforward ones. There was a shed rebuilt, it was demolished and rebuilt on 27 Hendy Road. The tree clearing, limited number of marked trees. I think there was pictures online that you could view for the 436 Lake Road application. I visited the site with the applicant, and we pretty much made sure that only the marked trees would be cut, and they're going to be cut with a chainsaw, and a lot of the wood is going to be left there, and then what isn't going to be left there is going to be carried out by hand or wheelbarrow. So there's no equipment in that area. What else we got? 119 Lakeside Drive. It was a generator and gas tank installation, propane gas. So that was along the house. Let's see. Then there was a kind of after the fact permit for a paver driveway that was the work was started, and then I had to get in touch with them and go through the process. So it was an existing gravel driveway, and then pavers were installed over the old driveway footprint, so it wasn't expanded at all. But so we had that one, was 159 Lakeside. And then the last one, 22 Bailey Road, was the guy was getting a foundation replaced, and they're using the concrete rubble to construct a little ramp on an old farm road in their backyard. So it was a pretty simple project. It was within the 100-foot upland review area, but it was well out of the stream channel, and yeah, like I said, it was along an old road that was back there when it was a farm. So that's it for the report. Does anybody have any questions?
I was going to ask you about the first one, Bill Monroe. That construction or reconstruction, it's got to be outside of the flood zone, right?
It's up on, yeah, if you're familiar with the site, there's like a flat area, and then it goes up a steep embankment, and then the shed that he demolished and replaced is up above that. So it's like right on the edge of the 200-foot upland review area. I think it was around 180 feet from the river. So.
All right, because I noticed that you had a whole bunch of stuff down there right by the river, and I'm pretty sure it's out, right?
Yeah, there's another building down there, but yeah, this was a different building up further away.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments about the agent report? Okay. So did 2128 get was there any documentation on that other than the application? I didn't see that online.
2118?
Yeah.
Let's see. Might be on take a look at the.
Okay, there's a description there.
Yeah, he has a site plan on there. I know that. I don't know if I put any pictures on there. I think I took some pictures, but I don't know if I posted them.
No, I don't see any pictures there. That's okay. I just wondered.
They weren't very. It was hard to see with the pictures. I think that's why I didn't put them on there. They wouldn't really give you much. Yeah, that's why I didn't post those.
Okay, well, we're within minutes of the time that I need to wrap up. Other business review of permit link application and documents. I believe that the gist of this is that we're going to be going online with all of our applications, right?
Yeah, sometime soon, not yet, but I just wanted to run the documents by the commission to make sure they didn't want me to add or change anything before I submitted them to the permit link company. So I sent George. Did I send? I don't know if I sent them to the commission or if I sent them just to the chairman.
Yeah, I looked at it and I didn't see any need to make any changes since, you know, we're trying to keep our application process simple. I don't think we're looking for, we wouldn't be looking for extensive changes to the standard format that they offer. And I think probably at this point, you should go ahead and share it with the other commissioners. I don't know that the commission review is going to be required to adopt this, but at least we should review it before we take the next step.
All right. I'll email everything I have so far out. It's basically the any information that was on the helpful information for providing adequate detail in the application, because the new one is only 2 pages. So I pulled that information off of our old application and kind of cleaned it up, and we'll put it on the website that you go to get to the permit link. So you'll be able to review all that stuff. Pretty much the same. So it'll be pretty similar, just a little different layout.
Okay. Well, then that concludes our business for the regular meeting. Our next regular meeting will be Monday, October 4th at 7 p.m. Hopefully not so constrained by time. And by unanimous consent, we're going to adjourn this meeting at 8:15. Abby, our new board clerk, I appreciate your being here and helping to run the meeting. You'll have to update your screen icon, otherwise we'll all think that you're Amanda's twin sister. But again, pleasure to see you here, and I look forward to seeing you next month. So with that, I'm going to leave the meeting because I have to get on my way to Bradley Airport. Good night, all.
Good night, everybody.
Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.